Students, today we are going to discuss the second part of matrix method in paraxial optics, that is regarding the effect of refraction. Again, I will like to tell you that in the previous video I have discussed that whenever a ray of light is passing through an optical system, okay, like this, then like this, and then like this. So what happens, the ray of light undergoes two types of operations. One operation that is called translation, that thing we have already discussed, okay, in the last video. And whenever there is a change in the medium, then what happens there, that is called refraction. Similarly, whatever happens here, that is called refraction. Okay, so today we will be discussing how to represent refraction using the matrix method. Okay, so that is, for that we need to draw a different ray diagram. So I would like to draw that. So whenever you draw it in your note, I would like to ask you, all of you, to go through it very carefully, because in exam you must draw it as it is. So you should understand the exact exact way through which the ray of light is passing through the system. So we are considering a refraction. Okay, so definitely there will be a change in the medium. Okay, so suppose that we have a spherical surface like this. Sorry, this is not a very proper one. Yes, so I'm trying to draw it precisely, and this is a principal axis as usual. All of you are aware of it. Now suppose that there is a ray of light coming like this, incident on it like this. Okay, so let me name this point as A, and what happens, I will name this point as P, at which the ray is incident, and as usual, and this side is n1 refractive index, and this side is of refractive index n2. So immediately whenever the ray is passing through is falling on an interface between two media, then it suffers refraction. So at the point of incidence, you can see I will draw a tangent. Okay, the point of incidence, I am drawing a tangent. So here I will draw a normal. Okay, so the normal drawn at the point of incidence, and it is cutting at the point C, so it is obviously the center of curvature. So C is the center of curvature, and what I am going to do next, so whenever the ray of light is passing through a rarer, okay, rarer to denser medium, what happens, it moves closer to the normal. Okay, so it was actually this ray of light was supposed to go in this direction, isn't it? But it will not go, it will move towards this direction. So I will remove this part, this is totally unnecessary. Okay, now let me define a few things. Suppose that this is theta 1. Okay, this is the angle of incidence. So theta 1 is the angle of incidence. Okay, and this one is the angle of refraction. So this is the angle of refraction. Okay, so according to the principle Snell's law, or the law of refraction, what happens, theta 1 by sine theta 2 is equal to n2 by n1. So simply I can write n1 into sine theta 1 is equal to n2 into sine theta 2. So let it be our equation number 1. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, so next thing what I'm going to do, I will draw a parallel. So let me do it little bit. Sorry, so this is coming like this. Okay, So what I will like to do, so this is a normal, so obviously it is going like this. So I just modified a little bit. Now I will draw a parallel to the principal axis. So you know that this is the principal axis, isn't it? So if I say that this is x and y, so xy is the principal axis. So I will draw a parallel to the principal axis along the I will draw a parallel to the principal axis at the point P. So this is the point P. So I will draw a parallel like this. So these two are parallel. Now this point P, I need to write a coordinate for this. So this point P is at a height of x. Okay, and this at this point P, ray of light. This is the ray of light at the point P. At that point P, the ray of light is making an angle. So this is equal to alpha 2. Okay, and at the point P, the incident ray. Okay, the incident ray AP. The incident ray AP is making an angle. Say I will name it alpha 1 with the parallel, and this one I will name as phi 1. Okay, so these are the simple considerations that we have made in the geometry. So you can see that this angle, this angle is phi 1. Okay, this angle is phi 1. So this angle will also be phi 1 from the simple geometry we have, because these two are parallel. So these two angles are phi 1 and phi 1. Okay, so this is the simplest one. So let me remove all this thing. All theta 1 and theta 2 are incident angle and refracted angle. All of you know about it. So I am just going to remove all this thing. Equation 1 is already noted. So now we will move into the geometry of that part. So since we have got n1 sine theta 1 is equal to n2 sine theta 2, under paraxial approximation, theta is very small. Okay, so sine theta 1 will be equal to theta 1, sine theta 2 will also be equal to theta 2. So this is equation 1. So equation 1 implies n1 theta 1 equal to n2 theta 2. So let it be equation number 2. So you, instead of writing simply equation sign, you can write also approximation sign. Okay, so it should not be a problem. Now next step. Now we from the figure we have, okay, what do we have from the figure? You see, let us find out what is theta 1. Okay, now this is the whole angle. This whole angle is the theta 1. So is it theta 1 equal to alpha 1 plus phi 1? In the diagram you can see theta 1 is nothing but alpha 1 plus phi 1. So you have the diagram means note with you. You can check it. So it is alpha 1 phi 1 or phi 1 plus alpha 1. Okay, next let us check what is theta 2. So this is equation number 3, and let us check what is theta 2. Okay, so let us go back to the diagram. So where do we have theta 2? So this is theta 2. All right, so see, this angle is, these two lines are parallel. So can we write this angle and this angle to be equal? So this angle is also equal to phi 1 because they are alternate angles. So theta 2, so this whole angle theta 2 is nothing but phi 1 plus alpha 2. From this diagram you can see that. So theta 2 is equal to phi 1 plus alpha 2. That will be equation number 4. Okay, so these are simple geometrical considerations that we have taken. Now next thing that we are supposed to consider. Now in the diagram you can see that what is phi 1. Okay, let us go back to the diagram. See, this is the center of curvature. So this is nothing but the radius of curvature. Okay, so radius of curvature, and this is the distance. So is it looking like this? This is the radius, and if I consider this to be x, approximately this one will also be equal to x, approximate, it's not equal. So this length is also equal to x, and this angle is phi 1. So can I write phi 1 equal to arc length divided by radius? Okay, because this portion is looking like an arc length, isn't it? So arc length of length x, so that is phi 1 equal to x by r. So again we have phi 1 equal to x by r. So from there we can simply see that. So let it be our equation number 5. Okay, now let's go back to, now what I will do, I will put these values here, put values from 3 and 4 in 2, and let's see what happens. So it will be putting 3 and 4 in 2 we have. So n1 theta 1 means n1 phi 1 plus alpha 1. So phi 1 plus alpha 1. n2 theta 2 means phi 1 plus alpha 2. Okay, very simple. So n1 phi 1, n1 alpha 1, n2 phi 1, so n2 alpha 2. Okay, so n2 alpha 2 is equal to n1 alpha 1 plus n1 phi 1 minus n2 phi 1. So n1 alpha 1. Okay, so if I take minus common, so it will be n2 minus n1 phi 1. So n1 alpha 1, n2 minus n1 phi 1 is nothing but x by r. So it is equal to x by r. Okay, so if you remember, so n2 alpha 2, n2 alpha 2. So if you remember the last derivation about effect of translation, so n2 alpha 2 is nothing but lambda 2, n optical direction cosine, n1 alpha 1 is nothing but lambda 1 minus n2 minus n1 x by r. Okay, so what I will do, I will mark this thing as a different quantity. Okay, so next step, lambda 2 equal to lambda 1 minus px. Okay, so let it be our equation number 6. So where p is equal to n2 minus n1 divided by r. So this is called power of the refracting surface. This is called power of the refracting surface. Okay, this is a very important quantity. So ultimately what do we have? So already one thing that we have is lambda 2 is equal to lambda 1 minus px. That is the first thing that we have. And then again you can see that, let us go back to the diagram. Okay, So you can see that when implement matrix method, to implement matrix method we need two things, isn't it? One, lambda and x. Two things we need. Okay, lambda is about the angle made by the ray of light with the parallel, x is the height of the ray of light at the parallel. Now let us go back to the diagram. You see the refraction is happening at the point P. Okay, so if you consider the incoming ray, the height of the ray is x. If you consider the outgoing ray, height of the ray is x. That means x1 is equal to x2 equal to x, isn't it? So when the refraction is occurring, height of the ray of light is not changing, it is in the same height. So that means height is not changing. So one condition is that x2 equal to x1. Okay, so I will name it as say x1. Okay, because x2 equal to x1 equal to x, so x in place of x I have written. So this is our equation number 6 and this is our equation number 7. Okay, now we will convert it into matrix form. Okay, so what do we have? Final matrix, and here we have initial matrix, and here we have the refraction matrix. So I will call it as final matrix. Okay, this is the initial matrix and this is the refraction matrix. Okay, so you can understand when the ray entered into the system, what are the values of angle and height? So it was lambda 1 and x1. When the ray left, what it was coming emerging after refraction, what was the height? It was lambda 2, sorry, angle was lambda 2 because angle made is theta 2, and the height was x2. So this thing, this is the initial and this is the final. So in the matrix form, what we can write? Lambda 2 x2. Okay, and then we have lambda 1 x1. Now let us try how to modify it. Okay, so it is lambda 1, in place of lambda 1 it is 1. Okay, here it is in place of x1 it is minus p, so it will be 1 and minus p, and here in place of lambda 1, is there any lambda element here? Is there any lambda element here? No. So lambda here it will be 0 and x element is 1, so it is 0 and it is 1. Okay, so I am again repeating why I have taken 1 here, because here lambda element is 1. Similarly, why I have taken minus p here, because it here x element is minus p. So that means you can write lambda 2 x2 is equal to refraction matrix lambda 1 x1. So where R is called refraction matrix. Okay, so that's all for the effect to how to study effect of refraction and translation during an in a matrix method study, often in an paraxial optic system. So you can understand and you should remember that here everywhere determinant of translation matrix is also 1, determinants of refraction matrix is also 1. Okay, so these are the properties. Okay, and you can see that, suppose that what I am going to tell you, suppose you have a lens like this. Okay, so if the ray of light is coming like this, okay, and it passing through it and it is going out. Okay, and sorry, let me just simplify it. So the ray is coming out like this, and here you have the image, and here you have the object, here you have the image. Okay, so if I ask you that here the object is at a height x1 and an angle made with the parallel is lambda 1, here the image is at a height say x2 and angle made with the parallel is lambda 2. Okay, so what you will be writing, so sorry, lambda 2 x2. Okay, so here it is lambda 1 x1. See, when the ray of light has started from O, it first underwent translation, isn't it? Translation. So first there will be translation matrix. Now on the whole of it, again it what it went through it, then it happened, what happened after that, it is refraction. So again refraction. Again to give the final image, what happened, it has to go through again what, translation. So it is translation. Can you understand? So the whole, this whole ray diagram is represented by this matrix. Okay, so this thing is called the system matrix. Okay, so depending upon the optical system matrix will be different. So the system matrix is sometimes called ABCD matrix also. Okay, so it is also called ABCD matrix. So simply you can so you know that what is translation, you know that. See here what I have written, suppose diffraction matrix just now we have derived, what is that, 1 minus p 0 1, is it? Then t and t and lambda 1 x1. Again what is translation matrix that we have derived already? So translation matrix is nothing but 1 0 d by n 1, isn't it? So it is again 1 minus p 0 1, then you have again 1 0 d by n 1, and then you have lambda 1 x1. Okay, so if you multiply all this matrix, you need to do matrix multiplication. So we will just simplify it, we will represent it like this. Okay, a single matrix. So it is lambda 1 x1. Okay, and we are just simplifying it like A B C D. Okay, and we are just giving some notation. So ultimately we have lambda 2 x2. So this is called system matrix or ABCD matrix. Okay, so that's all for today. You will understand well about this thing when we will be solving some practical problems, then it will be much more clear to you. Okay, so till then you just go through this note and also through this process to understand the physical significance of this. So I will again tell you something. Suppose that you have a ray of light like this, there is a lens like this, then there is another lens like this. Okay, so you have an object here and you have an image here. Okay, so the ray of light is passing like this, then again like this, so again there will be like this, isn't it? So see, so first of all the ray of light, suppose it had, this object has a height of x1 and angle lambda 1, an image has a, let us consider it is height of x2 and angle lambda 2. So first of all it will be written like this. So what happens, first happens is translation, so translation matrix. Then what happens here, refraction, then again refraction matrix, then again what happens here, translation matrix, then again what happens here, refraction matrix, then again what happens here, translation matrix, then again refraction, and then again translation. See, so that will ultimately give you the final image. See, so the whole thing, all of this is called again ABCD matrix. So we simply rewrite it as ABCD matrix. Okay, so it doesn't have any kind of physical significance, we just use a way of writing it. Okay, so x1, that's all. So next we will be using it in some for some practical purpose, then it will be much more clearer to you, and it will make you much more clearer how to use this ABCD matrix or say system matrix like that.